Hi, Dustin. So I think Dustin and Teresa from Sioux Falls, South Dakota are on here. So happy to see them on Monday when we announced the 2025 trials at Sioux Falls. Certainly it was exciting to be in town there, and there's lots of energy and enthusiasm for the event. And I hope I didn't overdo it, Dustin, in that press conference when I made the pitch for a dedicated ice facility in Sioux Falls as a legacy of the event. But I laid it on a little thick, maybe. But you know,
I don't think so. With the mayor sitting right there, it's perfect.
Yeah, we'll keep working on it. So I think we can get started. I'm just going to pull up one thing here. So I'm going to sort of quickly touch on some of the agenda items, but I'd really like to open this up for questions, et cetera. But I will sort of run through the agenda items. Since all of you were kind enough to join too, I'll give you a little heads up that we a couple items in the merch area. We have bags of vintage pins for sale now. We got out of our Plover warehouse space. We've consolidated everything in Eden Prairie, saving us about $20,000 a year. But there was no shortage of pins, and there's a $12 bag of pins offer now in the store. So check that out, and I'll give you a heads up that if you were at a Nationals this year, we are going to be auctioning off our Welcome to Nationals flag starting tomorrow. So if you know anything about that, that'll happen tomorrow. We'll get started with that. With those notes, I'll quickly run through the agenda and just touch on it again, and I'll open it up for discussion. I thought I'd give a little insight on the new membership model and a season 1 review. I've done some of that in emails, but I'll touch on it again here quickly. We're at just over almost at 19,500 members, 16,566 at the basic level, 1,511 at coach competitor. So I think overall, we ended up exceeding our revenue projection. We were necessarily conservative on our revenue projection, so I did expect us to exceed it, but our projection was 500,000 in revenue. We're at about 735 right now. So I appreciate the support, or we appreciate the support, and I think it's one indicator that the membership model was well received. We do have some work to do in a couple areas. One being our premium membership. If we exceeded goals with basic and coach competitor, we lagged behind our goals on the gold membership and the premium membership. So a couple things there. We're going to look at the pricing of those and also the offering itself to see what we can do to create more interest in those, and I think also communicate a little more about them. But appreciate all who have joined this past year, whether it was as a member club or an individual member. It was not without some trepidation that we waded into a new model, but as I've said in other town halls before, as far long back as 2017, when I was an athlete board member, I said the old model was unsustainable. So however we got here, I think we have a new model that's better for the curling community. So that's the summary of the new model. I'll jump just quickly to championship planning and host sites through 2028. We do have all our sites for 2025, apart from, and I see Nancy Myers on here, College Nationals, which we're still in search of a site for. If you don't know anything about the College Nationals, they like to rotate or switch between a Midwest location and an East Coast location. So ideally, we'd be at an East Coast club. We are having discussions with a couple clubs about that, but if it really needs 4 sheets, so if there's a 4-sheet East Coast club that is interested in that, please reach out to Aaron Kaler. There are a couple of at-large playdown sites that are pending, so we feel pretty good about those. One other additional event we have next year is the World University Games qualifier, so we're working on a site for that as well, but feel pretty good about where we'll be on that. I will also let everybody know that there will be a new championship next year. I'm sorry, Jeremy, that's a good point. It does not include, we have all our 24, 25 sites, Jeremy Malrich. Jeremy just asked about the Arena Nationals. We don't have a 20, which would be 25 Arena Nationals, because Arena Nationals is in November. I got ahead of myself there. So 24-25 season is pretty much set. We also have a World University Games qualifier event. So that's sort of an every other year event. We're looking for hosts for that. And we have a new national championships next year, which will be the U21 mixed doubles nationals. World Curling is introducing a U21 World Mixed Doubles. So we do have a plan to do that event in November, and hope to be able to share some information on that front shortly, along with information related to the 2025 men's and women's nationals. We're really close to having a contract there, and we can announce that. So that's the basic rundown on championship planning and host sites. You will find on our site, you'll find a graphic that shows all our championships stretched out through 2028, and where we're still searching for sites. We do have a number of sites. For instance, Broomstones is going to host Junior Nationals in 2025, Bismarck in 2026, and then it'll go back to Broomstones in 2027. So there are a number of where we're out beyond even 2026. But part of our goal continues to be to get far out in front. If we could get things locked in through 2027, would really allow us to focus on a few other things. So I think one reason it's been maybe a little easier this last year, and full credit to staff at USA Curling, I think most clubs have found that host clubs have found that the events we've been more supportive. We have staff at most events. We work more closely with the event host than we did probably in the past, and we're going to continue to up that. The only one I didn't get to, I'm looking at Nancy again, I didn't get to College Nationals, but we sent John Schuster in my place, and I think the kids probably appreciated that a lot more than me. So we do try to have presence at everyone. I'll touch quickly on webcasting efforts.
You want to take it off the projector? Or is it like connected to your headset or something?
I'm going to mute everybody real quick. There's one person.
You'll check on your speakers.
I'll mute everybody again and then come back. All right. So webcasting efforts. We did the webcast of 5 and Under Nationals. That wasn't a budgeted expense, so I appreciate we had some donors who helped back that, and we appreciate all our webcast sponsors this past year. It is an ongoing challenge how we continue to pay for webcasting. We obviously feel like it's important and something we need to do, but it's not inexpensive. So few options. Well, a few things. We've always pursued sponsors. We would love to find some sponsors that aren't endemic sponsors outside of curling suppliers. Not because I don't appreciate them or we don't appreciate them, but we can only lean on them so much. Now, I will also say that sponsorship sales of webcasts like ours can be challenging when it comes to numbers and showing people the real ROI on it. I do think our webcast is something that a sponsor should like. So it's obviously part of any sponsor pitch we make right now, but we definitely need to find a way in the future to offset those costs. We don't need to make money on webcasting, but we definitely want to deliver a quality product, and that costs money. As I've always said, and I'll say it again, we would like to webcast as many championships. Well, we will webcast as many championships as resources allow. Credit to some in the 5 and Under community who went out and sort of either raised money, donated money themselves, or raised money. We didn't quite get to our goal on that, but we got close enough, and we did that, and I think it was well received. So that's the update on webcasting. And then the last bit was just any questions related to USA Curling and the upcoming GNCC vote. And I think what I just want to make clear here to this group is that, the decision obviously is not with us about whether the GNCC returns. I think we provided a thoughtful response to their conditions and expressed some concerns about them. We didn't actually hear back directly from leadership on that. But it's clearly not, it's up to the GNCC if they want to come back or not. And all I will say on that is that no matter how it goes, we will find a way. If the GNCC elects to come back, great. If they do not, we'll find a way to give the club, make sure the clubs in the on the East Coast have a voice on our board. So we're not sure what that looks like right now because, but obviously it would probably mean creating some sort of, regions just for USA curling purposes. So, but again, I think if I could add anything on that, it's that I have no idea how the vote will go. I don't know which way it's trending. I do seize from from communications from board leadership of the GNCC and posts on social media that there's certainly a group among the leadership that's not in favor of joining. So we'll see how it goes. I won't be in the meeting next weekend, but we'll see what happens. And I just want to make clear that USA Curling will make sure that no matter what happens, clubs that in that was considered the GNCC region geographically will have a voice going forward one way or another. So with that, I will open it up for questions. Feel free to, raise your hands. I know a lot of people like to use chat. The only trouble is then you're just listening to my voice the whole time. So I'm thrilled if people ask questions or have questions or anything they want to share. If anybody here, we have a few people who have been in our club council meetings. I think those have been fairly productive. I'd suggest that if your club has not provided a club council rep, that you do that. I think it's valuable. I think we have representation from close to 90 clubs in that. So it's been great to work with that group. And I'll stop and see if I didn't kill the room here or the online forum. I think there we go. Ann Kirkpatrick, give your hand up. Go ahead, Ann.
Hi, Dean.
Hi, Ann.
Hi there. Can you talk more about the webcast and the, I know that you said that you needed a budget, but can you just tell us more about what that costs and
Sure.
more about what's getting in your way of doing it, seamlessly?
Well, I think that the three events we do with Curling Stadium work really well, right? But I think it is a high quality production. We're webcasting all the sheets. Without getting directly into what we pay them, I think you can say, it's somewhere between, let's just say it'll be in our books anyways, but it's about $60,000 a year, right? So, and that includes a number of expenses. So, and then there are expenses outside of that we take on, depending on what the arena setting is like. So it's not inexpensive. Obviously, when we go into a club that has a curling stadium set up already, like Traverse City did, or we'd had Fargo Moorhead had club curling stadium in their club, so we were able to use that to stream. That obviously makes the dollars less, but to put on that broadcast quality or close to near broadcast quality production costs more money. So each event basically, does cost money. In the past, USA Curling had invested in equipment, and we really don't want to be in that business. We want to be hiring production companies. And I think most would agree that Curling Stadium's done a fine job. And, I think they bring a lot to that webcast. So, but we can't spend that on every single championship. So whenever we're in a facility that doesn't have a webcasting setup, we have to scramble a bit. And Chaska, as advanced as that facility is, does not have webcasting inside the club. So we had to bring it in for the 5 and under nationals. Does that help, Ann?
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Dustin, you have your hand up.
Do you guys, as far as USA Curling, do you recommend that clubs put in Curling Stadium for the ease of broadcast in the future, or how do you guys approach that?
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously a preferred vendor of ours, and there are discounts for member clubs when they use Curling Stadium. So we'd love to have clubs do it. We also, and John Benton would admit this, that every club will have someone who probably has the technological expertise to do some other system. Curling Stadium is obviously easier for us when we go into a venue, but and most clubs are putting in some version of streaming. More clubs get that, great. If we get a little bit more financial flexibility, it could be something that maybe when we have a championship host, we do something to offset those costs to put in Curling Stadium. We're not in that position right now, but certainly that would be great. I think they have a good product, and I would encourage clubs to talk to them about it. It's not for every club, and they'd admit that. But I would encourage a club that doesn't have a streaming setup to consider them. I guess the reason I put it on the agenda is, I understand the sentiment if you're in a championship, that you definitely, you want your championship streamed, right? For instance, last year we were at Curl Masabi for the Arena Nationals, and they didn't have a streaming setup. So I can understand why it's disappointing for competitors. But what's easier for us to sell to sponsors are obviously the championships that draw bigger audiences. So that's going to be our men's and women's is twice as much as mixed doubles. Mixed doubles is a little more than a third as much audience than juniors. So, and then 5 and under came under that. Now 5 and under did do pretty well, but it's still not going to get those kind of numbers. So I do know we're going to be in Wausau, Wisconsin for the 24 Arena Nationals, and they don't have a full-time streaming setup, but they're looking at putting it in. And I know when we did Club Nationals there, Steve O'Keefe worked to set up some streaming on at least one sheet. It was pretty well done. Yeah, Nick's mentioning Facebook Live at Arena Nationals. We do at the 5 and under Nationals when teams were on sheets that weren't streamed. We did say they could stream them on something like Facebook Live, but we do prefer if it's not with commentary that gets other people upset. So. Yeah, Phil, I think the local community broadcasting as being a good source is a good point. That's what Wausau did. So it's always something to consider. We did have a last minute quick story, but we had a last minute offer from a community access station in Eveleth. The first year we had Arena Nationals there. And so I jumped on it. That's when I'd been in the job for a week. I said, yeah, let's do it. And it was fairly disastrous. So you do have to know who you're dealing with. So yeah, it was a good idea until they tried to execute. And then it was pretty much a write-off. Club Nationals sites. Yes, Sarah, I think we announced Milwaukee as the 25 Club Nationals site. We don't have 26 announced yet, but certainly working on 26 and 27. Now, Milwaukee is a 5-sheet club. We love to put our 2014 fields in 6-sheet clubs, but we've determined that we can't do that every time, or we're just going to constantly be relying on 6-sheet clubs. So we're going to be in Milwaukee, which is a beautiful club, great venue. It will mean in a 5-sheet club, we'll add probably half a day to the event, so it'll get slightly longer. But yeah, so that's where 25 Club Nationals are. And some people ask me how, if you have any interest, your club, and I know contact Aaron Kaler. There are some things on our site about how to host, but we're always interested in talking to anybody about hosting. And I think we've made it a more positive experience. I hope we have. The fact that clubs want to host again seems to indicate that's been the case. We'll talk to Dustin and Teresa in December of 2025 to see how they feel about Now, trials are a little different animal, but we'll see about that. Than, if you want to run the outdoor nationals, you can go for it and we'll sanction it, but I'm going to leave the organization to you. I have, whenever I've curled outdoors, I find it fun for about 15 minutes and then I'm about done, but it is fun for 15 minutes. I believe it is still available on the website, Emma, the RFP. I'm just going to have a look here. Under bid information. Yeah. If you go under, so we have bid packets for men's and women's nationals and national championships. If you go to events on our website, competitions, and then, or competitions, sorry, go to competitions and then go down to bid information. And there's men's and women's national championship packet. And then also Aaron's put together one for other championships. The reason men's and women's is different is because we put that in an arena, so we need an arena venue. So, but those two packets are there. Carl Thomas, go ahead. Maybe you're still on mute, Carl. I can't hear you. Am I the only one who can't hear Carl?
I can't hear him either.
All right, Carl, we can't hear you. Oh, wait, maybe I can hear you now. Go ahead. Carl, I'll tell you what, put your hand up, take it down and put it up again once you think you got that sorted out, but I don't think we can hear you right now. So while we wait for Carl, this is when somebody else jumps in with a great question.
Hey, Dean, it's Teresa.
Hi, Teresa.
Quick question. At the members assembly, will there be potentially like an instructor course, like for like level 1 or?
Yeah, we don't have that in there right now, but but we'll consider adding it. It's just going to depend on the entries for the mixed doubles pre-trials at Chaska close in about 10 days, I think. So once they close, we'll know exactly how many teams we have, and then we can figure out how much ice availability we have. But yeah, we're trying to make this year's members assembly, for people who missed it, trying to make it a process for certification and education. It will be in person. Some things will be covered virtual, obviously not the certification classes, but there'll be officiating. We are discussing introducing an analytics certification for people, so people can score games for us. And we hope to introduce that there. And then, yeah, if it's just going to depend on how much ice time we have, Teresa. But if we can make it work, we will.
Thanks, Dean.
Yeah, we're looking at a info on ice. I don't know if Lauren Rich is on, but there was info in my last email that went out, some information in the news section on our site about our new ice tech training that we're doing. We're following the World Curling ice technician certifications. If you go to the release on 4/26/24, there's information about the new, how we're aligning with the World Curling program. And just so people know, we invested in that. We sent Sean and some of his top ice techs to a World Academy of Sports session last year at Rock Creek. They learned how to teach the curriculum, and the first one is going to be June 29th and 30th at Chaska. The idea is we continue to roll these out around the country. I don't know if anybody from Ardsley is on, but they've expressed interest in having one, and we'll probably do one there. Sean Olson's actually going to Anchorage for a ice tech consult with that club, and we're going to offer it there as well. So yeah, if you go 4/26/24, there's information on it. And Stefan, if you want to host one, by all means, best probably idea is, and I don't mean to pass the buck here, but reach out to Lauren in member services. Yeah, if we could bring one of those to Cape Cod, we definitely will. I think it's going, Lauren just put her email in the chat as well. So yeah, we're excited about that. So just so people know, there's 2 levels of Ice Tech certification. There's the Club Ice Technician certification. That's what we're doing at the end of June. Sean was never a big fan of the old level 1 program. He thought it was a lot of time in a room that wasn't very practical. This is going to be very practical. So that'll be 1 level. And then the other level is competition Ice Tech certification. And that's for people who really want to make ice, be part of the crew at our men's and women's nationals, et cetera. But any club would benefit from having an Ice Tech attend one of the Club Ice Tech certification programs. I will add it is restricted at it is for member clubs right now, and I don't apologize for that because it is an investment on our end, and it's a member benefit. So it's considered a member club benefit, even though the certification is to an individual. It's the individual goes back and helps make better ice in their club. Carl, he's typing in for the GNCC. I'm not sure I totally understand your question, Carl, but grassroots competition trade-offs, what are the grassroots efforts being done? I think we're doing a lot on the grassroots side, whether it's ice making clinics, whether it's 5 and under qualifier bonspiels, making the 5 and under nationals a true national championship. If you want me to go through a laundry list, I guess I could, but I would suggest that you spend some time looking at what we're doing. We have the Athlete Outreach Initiative, which sends players to member clubs to run clinics and courses and do outreach in a community. That's another thing we've done. We're grateful to Bill Peskoff, who helped fund that. So just so anybody knows, I mean, in my job, I probably spend 80% of my time on membership-based initiatives and what we're doing on that front, and 20% when it comes to things like sport performance and how are we, what are we doing to ensure our teams have a good experience at Worlds, et cetera. So most of my focus is on things like the members assembly, which I think is also a grassroots effort. The idea that we are only focused on competitive play is fine if people still hold that opinion, but I think we're doing a lot more. I would also argue, just while I'm on this, that I do think that sport performance also matters at the grassroots level. I think the idea that they're completely separate is not accurate. I think that just as lots of kids picked up golf clubs because of Tiger Woods or tennis rackets because of Serena Williams, I think we can point to 2018 gold medal and a lot of kids playing, and I think we can point to the fact just that then we're in the Olympic Games that people are, that sport performance helps drive grassroots participation. Another thing on the grassroots level is just the club council that we meet every month and discuss issues that are relevant to clubs and how we can put more things out, put out more materials. One of the members of the club council, Matt Sussman, just provided this week. He wrote something on how to measure stones. We put that up on our site. I thought that was kind of good for newer curlers. So it's not so much one thing, I guess, but it's I think when you're talking about grassroots, you're talking about a number of efforts. And again, we're always open to ideas on how to better serve membership at all levels. Go ahead, Tom from Nashville. Tom Straub, how are you doing?
Doing great, Dean. Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that. 5U Nationals program specifically for us in Nashville has been such a huge driver for folks to get better, and contributes a lot to our success in the city. We're still a relatively small club, but so I definitely want to kind of second what you're saying there around 5U. One thing that has been really interesting in the last season that I would love to see more of If I think about like the Madtown Double Down, where we've got club level and pro level events in the same weekend, I
Right.
know Denver with their mixed doubles event this next season is going to be doing something similar. I'd love to see more of that. It's pretty amazing to be in, you know, such close proximity to those folks, and there's so many of the elite athletes that'll sit down and answer questions and things like that. So whether you're on the club side or not, or on the pro side, it was really kind of an awesome event to cap our season off last year at Madison. But I'd love to see more of those things, kind of piggyback on what you're saying around growing and combining those two pieces.
Yeah, I think that's great. Great thought, Tom. I totally agree. Sometimes it's just a matter of capacity at an event and how many teams we can an event organizer can accommodate. But I agree. I mean, I think I know both our top players appreciate it, and both developing players enjoy that. So I can see the value, and it's certainly something we'll try to do more of. It was interesting at 5U Nationals. I mean, we had a lot of our, you know, top competitors in the Twin Cities area they're watching, which was fun. We had, I think, I'm pretty sure this number's up, but there were 587 entries in the 5 and under qualifier bonspiels this past year. So 23 qualifier bonspiels, 587 entries across the country. Certainly some huge ones, but most of the qualifier bonspiels are 16 teams or more. Another thing, if you have a 5 and under qualifier bonspiel in your, or 5 and under bonspiel in your club, please think about applying to be a qualifier bonspiel next year. We'll have 23 of those. And, you know, ideally we'll have 40 bonspiels apply to do it. And, you know, that'll make it great. We'll have to pick 23 because we only have so many teams, but, you know, that continues. I mean, I will say, you know, that's our last event of the championship season typically. And, you know, I was at it in Chaska. We had a lot of staff there. It's just about the most fun we have in an event because the enthusiasm among the 5 and under curlers is great. They haven't had enough brutal losses in their lives yet to be that jaded. So we love being around it. And they also buy more merch by a factor of 10 than any other competitive group. So, yeah. But I honestly, Tom, I think if we can find more ways to do that, we certainly will. And, you know, if we had the right venue or a big enough venue, there's also an opportunity maybe to combine some championships that serve different demographics. Nancy, go ahead. Oh, no, Nick. Sorry. I saw Myers. So, but it's Nick Myers from Dallas, Fort Worth.
Hey, how you doing? I'm just curious. I know one of the programs you guys do at USA Curling is done for a long time, but it's been enhanced over the years. It's been good for our club. But the instructor, like level 1 and level 2 instructor courses,
Yep.
do you have any statistics on like the number of people that have gotten certifications in the last couple of years? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's going to be. I'd have to ask Lauren. I don't know if she can quickly come up with that number, but she's on the call too. Lauren, who does a great job for us in member services, and was managing putting those classes together this year. It's a lot, but yeah, that'd be a good number to know, actually, Nick. And you know, one thing we'd like to do is I think there's a demand out there for more level 2 courses, so we're going to look at that. Also, a demand for more course conductors. So we want to train more course conductors because that allows us to run more sessions. I will add another thing that will be live by the time of the members assembly is our coach education modules that Craig Perry, our chief operating officer, and has been leading the charge on that. We have a new platform we're using. We previewed it to the board in Denver. Pretty excited about how it's looking. You know, it's funny because I'm always someone who wants to get something done the next day. Craig wisely counseled that we did want to get it right. So we've taken maybe a little bit longer to get it done, but it's going to be really good and continue to expand that. So one of the events we're planning at the members assembly is a coach conference, and there'll be some more probably have a soft launch of the coaching education modules in advance of that, and then really show people more about that at the members assembly. So, but yeah, more level 2. And one of the I think Nancy I'm just going to look in the chat. One of the things with the instructor situation was, we never had a coach certification, and I think there was a confusion between instructor and coaching. And the reality is the instructor is really supposed to be so that any member club has people who are trained, so when people come into the club can teach them how to curl. First, level 1, just how to get started, and then level 2 to take their game to the next level. It's a little different than coaching. So I'm excited that we'll have a separate coaching piece along with, and then continue to build the instructor side. We did redo, thanks to, and I don't know if Matt Shiner, Don Wade are on, or Mike from Detroit, but full credit to them for redoing our course materials for level 1 and level 2. They needed a refresh, and so it's the doc is a lot better. Lauren just put in some questions about what's going to happen at the members meeting and the members assembly. Just know that, the members meeting is where we vote. There'll be like some directors up for voting. If the, so that's where member voting happens. And we do have at the next club council meeting, Dick Dawson, our secretary, is going to share the platform we're using for that. So it's going to be electronic, because we're obviously going to have clubs carrying votes and individuals who want to vote individually. So it's more than in the past when each region carried all the votes. So a roll call vote would be pretty tedious. So we're going to use this electronic platform, and I think Dick's doing a great job getting that set up. Dustin.
Sorry to circle back to the member assembly, but we had a board meeting last night about possibly pitching the idea of sending our ice tech to the ice instructor course that'll be there at the assembly. Do you think that'd be worthwhile as arena club, where we're not doing a lot of scraping and kind of the traditional stuff of a dedicated club? Do you think there would be a value add for that? Or I'm sure you're probably going to say, well, of course, yeah.
No, actually, I'm gonna weigh it in my mind, to be honest, right now, and I'm not entirely sure. I'd probably let, not being smart enough to teach that, or capable enough to teach that course. I'm not exactly sure. Lon Pepper says yes. I'd have to hear what Lauren says. I'm sure there'd be value to it. But that's probably something that we should talk about a little bit, and we probably need to talk about that among ourselves first. So we are using this first one in Chaska. It's going to be a fairly small group, give our team a chance to really get comfortable doing this, and then we'll go from there.
If I can,
to Teresa's point, I mean, once you have the dedicated ice, Dustin, you'll be ready to go.
That's why
Sorry,
I said,
go ahead, Lauren.
Do we wait?
Oh,
till
that's,
next
I
year?
mean, that was kind of what I was going to say. So especially because I think you guys are holding a Bonspiel soon, but the Bonspiel might be after the members, or might be before the members assembly. So I'm not sure that it would be a whole lot of help for that. But I think having some basic ice tech expertise within the club is probably it's not going to hurt any sort of dedicated ice efforts that you guys have. So either if you want to do that through the club ice technician certification, or if you can try to get some time with just some other ice techs in the area, just to have more expertise within the club while you're going through the build, while you're going through how to set up your ice house and everything. I think that's going to be valuable to you. That said, it's not going to be very practical for your day-to-day arena ice conditions. So it's going to be kind of, I guess, a personal decision within your club. But I think certainly once you get to dedicated ice, it'll be really valuable to have that person who has those basic skills. But yeah, it's going to be kind of up to you guys.
Thanks, Lauren.
Lauren, by the way, is very qualified to speak to that question, because she started curling Silicon Valley in an arena setting before moving to Portland, and advancing quickly up our ice tech ranks from when I think Lauren started curling in 2018. So that's the value of a hard science background when you get into ice making, I guess. So, but yeah. So I think that's the best advice, though. Honestly, Dustin, is you know, and maybe it's not this. Maybe you don't do it right away. Maybe you know, you hold off and then do it when it feels more appropriate.
And we're trying like so we have the one that's in Chaska coming up at the end of June. That one's pretty confirmed. We're I think, Dean, we're pretty close to getting the one, like it should happen at the members assembly. I think that's all but needing to get the signatures.
Yeah.
There's a few others. So we have a couple planned out on the East Coast. We have one in the works out on the West Coast too. So we're going to have other opportunities. If you can't make it to the members assembly, and if you're going for the ice tech thing, that's going to take up pretty much the whole time that your ice technician would be there. So they're not going to have a whole lot of time to go out and do the other instructor and coaching courses as well. So if you want to hold off and wait for another later event, we should have options for you later in this year or early next year as well.
That's a good point, because during the assembly, we're talking to about 4 seasons about hosting the Ice Tech Clinic, because there's mixed doubles pre-trials are underway in Chaska, and then we'll be using the ice for officiating clinics and skills sessions, etc. So it's not that far, but it's not right at Chaska. So I think that's good advice. We want as many people as possible to take that, and we think it'll be valuable, but obviously take it at the time that you think is most efficient for your club. Let's put it that way. Something else I wanted to add here. We are finalizing our qualifying procedures document. We're trying to add some more clarity to it. Every year we review that and say, okay, what was not clear this past year, and try to improve it. So we should have that up shortly. I actually was on a call today with Steve Shield, and he's actually going to put together EPDs for every competition now, which is a great idea. An idea that I feel like we should have had years ago. So, but that'll happen. Trying to see if there's any other hands up. Sorry, EPD is the event procedures document that goes out before a championship, and it's typically done. It's typically done in the weeks before the championship, but there's a lot of things that can be done in advance, well in advance, and then it can be altered as needed. And one of the things too is we're trying. We've gotten to a point now where we're having more consistent formats. That's making it a little bit easier. I think we have a really good now 24 team, 12 teams of each gender draw. Also a 24 team 5 and under draw that seems to have addressed any of the problems in the past. Trying to think what else is on the plate. I don't know if anybody else from staff who's on has anything else to add. If you have, I don't know how many people have been in our content platform lately in our house. One thing that's been added recently, Jenna Bercheski and Lauren worked on if you go into the officiating section, click on that, there's a button that says step into officiating, and it documents the pathway to become, if you're interested in officiating, how to advance through the officiating ranks. Great thing about that is now I understand it, so that's terrific. But it's there, and I think it's fairly clear. So check that out. If you haven't been in our content platform, we're continuing to add stuff there. If you're at a club and you have something that works really well, a document or some sort of instruction program that you think is great, a junior program, we have a junior program guide in there, but doesn't mean that's the only way to do it. And you want to share it and you're willing to share it with other members, please share that with us. We just added, I don't know if there's anybody on here from the Denver Curling Club, but they have a spectator guide that other clubs had used as well. So we put a version on the site there that any club can just take and add their own name and logo to it. And I think it works really well in Denver. They leave them around in the warm room. And when people come in who have no idea what curling is about, there's something to help them understand. So always happy to keep adding to that. Well, Carl's question about the GNCC rejoining. So Carl, we would immediately seat a director, but it would have to be approved at the member meeting procedurally. So it would be confirmed at the members meeting. I don't think we would have a vote to reaffiliate clubs. Clubs could elect to join the GNCC. So I don't see why we'd need a vote to reaffiliate clubs. But again, that's also probably a question that I can confirm that answer with our secretary Dick Dawson and our board chair Brett Jackson. But yeah, the plan is if there's a director, they'll be immediately seated on the board, and then we'll vote to confirm at the members meeting. Yeah, I will say, I'm a GNCC member myself. I belong to a club that's in the GNCC. Obviously, without prosecuting the past, I think we know where we've been, but I think it'll be interesting to see if when the leadership of a lot of the board members seem to be against rejoining, be interesting to see how the member vote goes. And I really don't know. You're shaking your head, I know, Dorothy, but there's been statements on Facebook from Bob and Gwen that are pretty opposed to joining. So, I mean, that's all I'm saying. I mean, they're there. And there also is a letter that is, that went to clubs. It's from their attorney that's fairly opposed to joining. So, and again, I'm not trying to affect, we have no impact on the vote, and we'll do whatever the outcome is. But you can read on Facebook and you can see the posts that are fairly opposed to joining. And if I'm missing something, by all means, speak up and tell me what I'm missing. But
Can Dorothy unmute and speak?
Yeah, she's on mute now. I can't unmute her, I don't think, but Carl has his hand up too. Oh, there, you're unmuted now, Dorothy.
I am unmuted?
Yep.
Okay, thanks. I will say that I have had many a conversation with various members of the GNCC who will continuously say that they are not going to express their own opinion as when the vote comes. It is up to the clubs to determine how they want to do this. And although they will express a lot of angst over everything that's happened, that this happened during the pandemic, and while all of our clubs were trying to survive through the pandemic, the USCA made these changes. They have continuously said it is up to the clubs to decide.
No, I'm not saying it's not, Dorothy. I'm just saying that if you go on the Broomstones or the Cape Cod Facebook pages, Bob and Gwen weigh in, who are the president of the GNCC, and the secretary weigh in opposition. So I'm not taking a stand either way. I'm just saying that information is there. So, I mean, I don't know. I think it's not, I'm not saying anything's not factual. Those posts are still up. I'd invite you to go look at them.
I will go look at them because I have had conversations with both of them about it. And Bob's been pretty adamant about not expressing his own opinion, other than saying that, yeah, it's going to cost the GNCC about another $11,000 a year just to be a member.
Okay, I dispute that as well in terms of how is it going to cost $11,000?
Well, and it's because the GNCC has always supported clubs running competitive playdowns and will pay the clubs a fee per sheet. And that's really where most of and that they also pay to host them, and they also pay the officials to be there.
As do we when we run our at-large playdowns. So, I mean, I'll read you Bob's quote right now, Dorothy. He says on Facebook, "I strongly disagree with that last statement regarding GNCC members benefiting as a USCA region. During the past 2 years, As an independent curling organization, the GNCC has created more services for its members than were created in the previous 6 years combined, since we were able to focus on the needs of our membership without the time-consuming distractions caused by the USCA. So if that's not opposed to joining, I'm not sure what is. And I'm just pointing it out because we have no stake in this right now, is all I'm saying. Like we will carry on, continue to do the work we're doing, no matter what. And obviously, you know, a large number of clubs have joined as at large, and we've done our best with at large playdowns, and I think they've largely gone pretty well. But I mean, I don't know how that is interpreted any differently.
Well,
and I could read Gwen's comment as well, but I would also invite, if there's anybody here from a regional association who thinks that hosting their playdowns costs them $11,000 a year. They do collect entry fees, right? So, you know,
well,
the
GNCC has always been different. The GNCC, because we couldn't get clubs to host the playdowns, I think it was about 8 or 9 years ago, decided to start paying the various clubs so that they would have the playdowns. And I think it is unique to the GNCC that they do.
No, it's not unique to the GNCC, Dorothy.
Okay,
all clubs.
Well, I stand corrected, because I will.
All clubs get compensated for running playdowns, and when we host our at-large playdowns, we pay the clubs that host them. Now, we'd all like to pay them more than we do. So, same reason in national championships, we work pretty hard now to make sure that clubs make money when they do them. Talked to Eau Claire about how much money they made at junior nationals. They did really well. Now it takes some effort and some work with us, but they made money. So Nick Myers had his hand up, so I'll ask Nick real quick.
Yeah, so you know, I'm the Mid-America Curling Association president, and for the last 2 years, we've traveled since Arena Nationals is on dedicated ice. Excuse me. We've traveled to 4 seasons in Blaine, Minnesota. This will be our 2nd year. We might even be working with another region to co-host. So we do travel. We are paying for ice time. We don't have a large budget, but we do pay for the ice time. It's a big expense to the region that we, you know, unfortunately have to pass on to the competitors. With that, we also host our other championships in Denver and Rock Creek. And we pay them for ice time. It's not enough. It's never enough, but we do pay for them. And I don't think I don't think GNCC is the only region that does that. I think Minnesota Curling Association does that. I think every region has some type of compensation for hosting a championship. It's never enough. Let's be honest. It's never enough for those host clubs, even for national championships, even for Olympic trials, even for live streams. It's never enough. But every region does it. I agree with Dean on this one that there is compensation for hosting these championships.
And they also charge entry fees to competitors, right? So there is some money. Now, MAC is sort of unusual, and they go to great lengths to run their events. MOPAC has the same challenge, but they have to pay. They pay the host clubs as well. So. Go ahead, Dorothy.
I stand corrected, but I do know that of the $11,000 in the budget for next year, if the GNCC does rejoin, the vast majority of that is for payments to clubs to host the playdowns. And that's what you asked where the money was from, and that's where it is.
Well, yeah, I'm just pointing out that you're also going to collect entry fees from competitors to offset that, right? I mean, that's what every region does as well. It's what we only clubs regions that use our registration process, we used to charge $150, which was ridiculous. That's now $25, purely administrative fee. So, you know, we don't collect much from regional playdowns, and then we reconcile the amounts that were collected with the region at the end of the year. I'll just add one other thing here. I'll read Gwen's quote as well, Dorothy. Gwen Cralo is the secretary of the GNCC, who says online, to set the record straight, the GNCC did not walk away. We were kicked out with a unanimous vote by essentially the same people who now have invited the GNCC to rejoin. I dispute that. We have a new chair. We have a new CEO. We have a lot of new board members.
But let me just stop there.
Sure.
Were you not a higher up at the USCA when this happened? And was
Well,
it Brett?
I was employed at the USCA. Yes.
Well, you were one of the, seeing they don't have many members, I have many employees. I guess you were one of the top 10 employees because that's probably how many they had.
Yeah.
And how many of the people, we asked you this in a question that we had earlier, how many people that are on the board right now were on the board when that vote happened?
I think I don't know if anybody from the board is on, but I think it's 4
Out
of 13.
okay.
So we have, Brett Jackson's a new board chair, Colin Huffman's a new vice chair. So, I mean, again, like we can, like I said, Dorothy, we can prosecute the past for forever, right?
And yeah, we need to
But
get
I think it's, I was frankly a little discouraged when to see that from Gwen and Bob online. So I don't think it's factual to say that they're not taking a position.
well, and I will also say, I think I'm a little discouraged that we're still beating up each other.
Well, yeah, so am I. But I mean, all we've done is
need
we
to
went out and
stop.
said, please, here's, as soon as we passed the new membership model, we said, you're welcome back. So I don't know what else we could have done, right? We said that the membership model was supposed to be the big issue. We changed it, and I'm glad we did. However we got there, I think it was for positive reasons. But I think that, I don't think it's fair to say that, that there hasn't been any change. So, I would invite you to
heard me
read.
say that, I apologize. I did not.
I would
mean
invite you
say-
to read the posts on the Broomstones page.
I will do that.
All right, I didn't mean to get that exercised about this either. So, but I do want to make that point clear that the main point I want to make in this town hall is we will adjust to whatever the outcome of the vote is. All right. So, and we're committed to engaging with curlers who have been in what has historically been the GNCC region. I think we did that the past 2 years with the at-large membership, and we'll continue to do that. All right. Anything else? See, what I said in the past was I needed to put more controversial things in these town halls so more people showed up. So, but we got 49. But yeah, I would really be, and I think our entire board, we've had discussions about this, we'd be really happy if the curling community was working together instead of arguing. So.
Agreed, Dean.
Thank you. I mean, we're just not, that too. We're just not a big enough sport, to be perfectly honest, to be arguing about these things. And whatever personal differences there might have been, or if somebody said something that got somebody upset in the past, I think it's time to try and move on anyways. So, trying to think if there's anything else. Is there anybody from the club council on? If you don't have to say anything. Oh yeah, Teresa's on. Again, and Bernie's on. I think Cliff's on the club council as well. I think Phil, you put your hand up and down real quick. Is that Oh, club council. Yeah, Phil's on the club council as well. Thanks for your service on that, Phil. So yeah, I guess bottom line is I'd encourage people we'll have more information about the members assembly once we know exactly how much ice time we're going to have. We're grateful to Chaska for hosting it. I will say just on this call as well that while we were in the Twin Cities last year and we're there again this year, the idea is to move this around. We're working towards a pretty exciting announcement for the members assembly next year. And last thing I'll add on that is just that, the goal is to really make the members assembly, keep improving it and make it a real convention of curling. So, that we're not there yet by any means, but hopefully this year is a step in the right direction. Dan from Brooklyn.
This was just a thinking about the exciting on the professional side with the Grand Slam
Yes.
changing ownership and then immediately flying down to Nashville. Any fun things on the horizon as far as whether it's more money or events on the pro level tour?
So I have talked to Nick Selsky more than a few times and about he's the one who's leading the curling group that bought it. So yeah, lots of exciting stuff. They are focused next year. The Grand Slam events are going to unfold at the venues that they have signed up. But following that, they're really intent on having one of those down here in the United States. They see a big expansion opportunity here. So that's one reason why I was in Nashville. So yeah, nothing but positive, I think, for us on that. Obviously, they have a fair amount of work to do on their end, but I think it'll be really positive for the United States and our curling public. They have some ideas to, when they roll a Grand Slam in, to really engage the curlers and the community that's hosting. So yeah, I think it's all good. Another thing I'm excited about is the Everest Challenge, where we have that's going to be on CBS Sports in September. Our club national champions against Canada's club national champions. That's exciting. I can also share that the mixed doubles trials at Rock Creek will be showing on NBC over the weekend. They're going to show all the playoff games. We're working on how we handle the streaming of qualifying games. And then they're also, we're locked into the NBC Family of Network schedule for the trials in Sioux Falls, where we're going to have Saturday and Sunday, basically 7 hours of continuous curling coverage. Where they're going to show men's and women's, and then in between they're going to show some of our Paralympic trials that are going to happen at the same time. So it's a terrific opportunity for us to be on TV for that long. We don't know, frankly, what network we'll be on. Obviously, NBC doesn't have NBC Sports anymore. And I don't mean to speak for NBC, but my guess would be we'd be on something like CNBC on a weekend. So, but we will be on television, so that's exciting.
Is that relationship warm back up?
Well, I don't think it was ever cold. Like, I think NBC likes curling. I think what's happened is NBC's not sure what, they've been sort of finding their way through sports in general. They got the Olympics, they got the NFL, they backed out of a lot of other sports. I think a lot of it just owing the sports media landscape, right? It's shifting. So they would, I think the goal is eventually, and I can't really speak for them, but to move more sports onto Peacock, which, hopefully like our qualifying games were streamed on Peacock last time. Honestly, what we're just talking about this time is doing it in a more cost-effective way, because that was awfully expensive for us in 2021, and we need to find a way to not make it as expensive. I think somebody else is there. Is that Phil?
Yeah, that's me, Dean. Quick question. When you watch any of the Grand Slam events from Canada, you inevitably see commercials promoting curling and how to get into curling. You also see that with golf here in the U.S. Does USA Curling have any plans to, produce something like that for broadcast during these events?
Yeah, during the trials, you mean, Phil?
Yes, whenever we have national broadcast of curling.
Yeah, so one thing we don't have an answer on this yet, but one thing we've asked from NBC is for some inventory, commercial inventory, probably to do two things, maybe to sell it ourselves, but also to do just what you're talking about. So I don't have a clear answer on how much inventory they'd be willing to provide yet, but we certainly have some commercials, sort of ad-like objects that we did during the last Olympics, but they could probably use a refresh. All right, we're coming up on the hour, so I always tell people that I always tell our working groups, like the Arena Club working group, we like to keep things to an hour, or else we lose good people. So we'll cut it off here unless somebody else has something else they want to add. And again, feel free, email me or anybody else on staff. We are certainly available. So appreciate.
I think we lost Dean.
Yes, we did. I'm sure he's going to say appreciates us all coming by.
Sorry about
Yeah,
that,
there he
folks.
is.
I hit leave one early. I just brushed over it. Didn't mean to leave that abruptly, but thanks.
That's a hard stop.
Yeah, that was a real New Jersey goodbye.
Exactly.
So, but appreciate everyone's time and all you do for the game. And again, we try to make announcements as soon as we can, whether it's about events or programming. So keep posted on our sites and socials, and hopefully you get our emails too. So thanks, everybody.